Hi there, Dr. Rock here. You're joining me live watching this recorded. It's nice to have you here. I am a lifestyle medicine physician. That means I help people make lifestyle changes to treat and reverse disease, and more importantly, lifestyle changes that help you take control of your health so you can live the life that you want to live. And today I'm going to talk about habits, and it may not be what you're expecting. I'm actually going to talk about the downsides of habits. The downsides. Your habits will fail you. Your habits will betray you. And listen, I get it. I'm a habit guy myself. You know, the power of habit and atomic habits. These are wonderful books and ideas that, in fact, I used to give a talk called Hack Your Life, and it was all about how you make new habits. And today I'm going to talk about actually how there's this common perception that forming good habits is a cure-all for personal development, and that really habits are uh, limited in scope, and they're sort of not very realistic in a lot of contexts. So let's get into it. Okay, so first, there's that belief that habits are what we need to change our life, change our lifestyle. We just need good habits, right? And I would agree that there are certainly habits that help us in life, and a lot of things we do are habitual. And so every morning I wake up, and the first thing I do is go into my bathroom and put on my contact lenses, floss my teeth, brush my teeth, scrape my tongue. Like, all these things happen one after another after another. I'm not thinking about it. I'm doing all these things. So those are habits. Now, how might habits betray us? Well, particularly when we talk about the food we eat, and movement and exercise. Often these things are framed as habits as well, right? They're sort of like, oh, you should develop the habit of exercising, or you should develop the habit of eating healthy. And and that's where I think things fall apart, right? So habits rely on consistent context. Okay, so in the morning when I wake up and I go to the bathroom, the context hasn't changed, right? I'm getting out of bed, walking into the same bathroom every day. You can imagine, and you've experienced this, like when you go on a trip and your context changes, right? What happens to those familiar patterns? They don't just happen automatically. You have to sort of remind yourself, believe it or not. You have to remind yourself, okay, where did I put my toothbrush and my floss? Oh, it's in my travel bag. I have to go get it out. And then you have to almost like remind yourself that you have to do these things in the order in which you have to do them, right? Suddenly the context has changed completely. Well, let's just dive into the reality of our dynamic lives, right? How unpredictable is every day? We have work demands, we have family and family obligations, we have social events, we have people calling us and showing up unexpected, we have emails coming in that are asking us to do this and that, and can you pick up this person, and text messages now. I mean, there's a million ways in which people can reach us, and a million ways, I would say, in which our context is changing on a regular basis. So, I was a big habit guy. I still am for some things. But one thing that has really changed my opinion about this is big fan of the work of Michelle Segar. Michelle Segar is a researcher at University of Michigan. She studies our behaviors and why we make healthy choices. And there is that key word right there, choice, right? So much of what we do in terms, especially in terms of our diet and our exercise, is actually happening at a level of choice. Choice because our context is changing. Our context is constantly changing. So she has a book came out a couple of years ago called The Joy Choice, which I highly recommend. And so some of this is uh, inspired by that. One of the things that Dr. Segar talks about in her book, and also we know from behavior change research, is that we are all faced then throughout the day with what are called choice points. And so choice points are those critical moments where decisions are made that can lead to maintaining or breaking the behaviors that we want for ourselves. So, for example, um, my goal or my desire might be to exercise for 1 hour every morning at 9 a.m., let's just say. Okay. And there are going to be days when I can do that, no problem. Everything sort of goes smoothly. Morning goes smoothly. There's going to be many days when something comes up, right? There's something urgent that needs to be dealt with. There's a child that's homesick. There's, uh, a work request that's very urgent. So all of these things that you're experiencing, right? And then what happens in that moment? So a lot of us in those moments, we say, hmm, I really need to do this urgent thing, or I really need to take care of my kid, or whatever. I guess I'm not going to exercise today. And so, right there in that choice point, you have made, seemingly um, on the outside, it looks like the habit has failed, right? But again, this isn't something that was necessarily habitual. This was something you were regularly able to do and are choosing to do in that time slot. And that, very often we're confronted with these choice points. So, how might you then choose to do something that aligns with that value of yours? The first thing is being clear on what is your value? Why are you doing this? Why is exercise, for example, we're using exercise as an example. Why is exercise important to you? Why are you prioritizing this in your life? Okay, so that's always good to remind yourself. I'm doing this because it makes me feel good. I'm doing this because I play a sport and I want to, I play, like, I have a couple patients who play pickleball and they want to really be um, mobile and strong for when they do that. Um, I want to maintain my independence. I want to be able to just, our podcast guest last week, David Goldman, was saying, um, why he exercises is to maintain his function so he can still be able to pick up a couch if he needs to, and throw his, you know, kid or his grandkid in the future, up in the air. And so ask yourself, like, why is movement important to you? That's just reaffirming that value. And then, how do you introduce some awareness when you're met with these choice points? And it's kind of like a muscle. It's like, oh, okay, so I'm in a situation where I can't do plan A. Okay, so the choice point presents itself. Um, and then you ask yourself, how can I make a choice that's in alignment with my values? And if one of your values is getting some movement in every day and you're clear about that, then you'll ask yourself, okay, so 9 a.m. didn't happen. There's sick kid at home, there's unexpected meeting, there's whatever. So let me look at my schedule and see when I might get some movement in today. Okay. Oh, I'm taking my daughter to running practice at a track. Well, instead of like doing work on the bench like I was planning on doing, I probably could walk for 30 minutes. And so right there, it's like, well, I didn't get my regular exercise in that I normally plan on doing, but now I'm going to get some other movement in. It's not complicated. It's actually just what we do all the time. I'm naming and labeling what we do all the time. We're constantly faced with these choice points. We're at the grocery store, and we see the Oreo cookies. That's a choice point. That's a decision making point where it's like, well, do I pick it up because it looks really good? Everyone's going to enjoy it. Or do I not put it in my cart because if I bring it home, I'm probably going to eat like too many of those and I'm not going to feel good. It's not in alignment with my health goals. It's not in alignment with a lot of things. So in that choice point, I could put the cookies in my cart or I could keep them on the shelf. And you will just realize that your day is actually a collection of these points, of these choice points, right? And these if you can bring some awareness into these choices that you're making on a regular, because sometimes for a lot of us, and I know I went through life for many years, they didn't feel like choices. They didn't feel like things that I was in control over. You're just sort of going through and reacting. You're reacting to uh, your stress or strong emotions. And what are we doing? Oftentimes we're numbing those things. We're numbing those things with food. We're numbing those things with our devices. We're numbing those things with alcohol or drugs. This is what many people do to kind of get through the hard stress that we're experiencing. So, I, I- part of this is just acknowledging that. Okay, there's changing context. There's a lot of stress, and what am I doing right now? Because maybe you're not making a choice. Maybe you are reacting. And so it's about introducing that pause, that moment where you ask yourself, like, okay, what do I want to do in this situation? I take my kids to a lot of birthday parties, and um, commonly the birthday party food for the kids and the grown-ups is, pizza and birthday cake and chips and things that taste good. And if I ate those things, I know I just won't feel good. I just won't feel good. I won't feel good about myself. They're not really in alignment with how I want to feel. Um, I'll come often to a birthday party then with this choice point, like, well, what do I want to? And so I'll look, right? And there's some fruit and there's some veggies. There's always that sort of like sad veggie tray. I don't know, and it is does look kind of sad, but um, but yeah, I can fill up a plate with that. Um, if there is that available and feel really good about my choices. Sometimes I was at a birthday party and I kid you not, like all the adults were standing around and somebody had brought like a giant um multi-pack of Cracker Jack. Cracker Jack, the caramel corn with the peanuts and the little prize. They still give a little prize. And everyone was, like, nostalgic about it, and everyone started taking one, and in that moment, I took one, and I was very, like, conscious. I was very aware that I was taking one and that why I was doing it. And I wasn't doing it to honor my value of my health, for sure. Like, nobody eats Cracker Jack. Has 17 grams of sugar, I believe. I think I looked at it when I was eating it. Has 17 grams of sugar in this little, like, bag and palm kernel oil. Like, it's not surprisingly vegan, but again, one of those things that's not, intentionally, plant-based and certainly not healthy. But I chose it because of this feeling and sense of wanting to belong, wanting to kinda honor that everybody was partaking in some, and it was a nostalgic experience to talk about it and to sort of indulge in it in that moment. I don't always eat things like that, and yeah, I was very happy with that choice. I really enjoyed that experience, even though that's not the food that I try to eat or that honors my health. So you can make choices that honor other values. Sometimes your value is just that of um, wanting to show appreciation or gratitude. Like if somebody makes you something and it's not necessarily something you would eat, unless you have hard and fast rules for yourself that you want to abide by, um, that's a value choice. That's a choice that you're making in a choice point. So adapting to these choice points, first of all, recognizing them when they come up during your day, and then adapting to them that's the sort of realistic approach to life. Not everything is going to then be this habit that you can't or can do. Now, some things can be, right? Like you can certainly layer in things that are habits to try and help you. So I meal prep on Sundays. That has sort of become a habit for me because I do it first thing in the morning. And I don't always have the opportunity to do it. So this is again a great example, but if I do it, then it makes the rest of the week so much easier because it's easy to just pull out a prepped meal from the fridge for my lunch, for example. If it's already there, then I don't have to think. Then making the choice that's good for me is also the easiest choice, right? And it relies on that meal prepping, that hour that I spend on Sunday morning. Now, some Sundays we're out of town or something has come up, same idea. So then if the meal prepping doesn't happen, then the rest of the week I may not make the best choices. And I know that. So when the meal prepping doesn't happen, I ask myself, can it happen later today? Could it look different? Could I prep something that doesn't take as long to make? Could I wake up early on Monday and prep something? Could I that this way you ask yourself and then you become flexible. And so this is really the key of like success for your lifestyle habits is flexibility. It's really understanding, acknowledging when you're in a choice point, dealing with those choice points effectively, and then planning for flexibility. So this is when we say like you can set if then intentions. So um if I can't do my regular workout, then I'm going to go for a 30-minute walk after dinner. These are like your plan B and your plan C. So this is practical approach to uh, making choices when the ideal choice isn't possible. Okay. The next thing I always have to bring it back to this. I always have to bring it back to this is that show ourselves some self compassion when things don't go as planned. So if you are working out at a certain time every day, if you're prepping your meals once a week, like I'm just describing, and then it doesn't happen, and then it doesn't happen for whatever reason, right? Life comes up, something happens, there's all sorts of reasons why something doesn't happen. First, just there's a feeling of disappointment. There's a feeling of like, oh, maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe I'm not living up to what I want to be. Maybe you know, these are the feelings that people get. And so I always start with a place of like, no, acknowledge that disappointment, and then remind yourself this happens to a lot of people. And most people actually struggle with this, struggle with consistency, and that, how would you talk to a friend? Well, you're doing the best you can. You're gonna figure this out. Okay. This didn't work out exactly the way you wanted, but try something else. These are the ways you would talk to a friend who's maybe feeling disappointed. And so not every, thing you miss and every behavior that you want to do that you miss, you're going to feel so bad about it, but there's a tendency for us to sort of have that self-talk where we tell ourselves like, "Oh, you did something wrong. You're a bad person. You're not living up to the ideal." And I don't, you know, I don't think for most of us that's an effective strategy in the long term. I know there are people out there that say you just have to tough it out. You just have to like, come on, man, you just gotta really, like almost be hard on yourself. Maybe that works for some people, but I don't think that works for most people. In my experience and now what I see in counseling people and working with people, like that's just that you're setting yourself up to then for the cycle of sort of feeling shameful and then for the cycle to repeat itself. So that's self-compassion, bringing self-compassion into your choices and when your choices don't go as planned. And then flexibility and adaptability. That's probably what I'll kind of leave with is, you know, we we want to do certain things. Like every day you want to live in alignment with your health and so if you recognize that, if you acknowledge that, then life just becomes an opportunity to express that. Rather than like feeling defeated when you don't get the opportunity to do what you planned, you look at then the rest of your day as an opportunity to express your values in a different way. And you get creative and you get curious. Hmm, there it is. That curiosity. How might I get movement in my day today in a way that feels good and that honors my values? Okay, well, my son is home. Let's say my son is homesick. Let me check in on him in the afternoon. And if he's feeling up for it, maybe we can go take the dog for a walk together. And this way you're honoring the value of wanting to be there for your child and support them and take care of them when they're sick. And you also want to figure out, how to get some gentle movement in. There's all sorts of ways in which you can then uh, craft your experience of your day and your life that's in alignment with your values. And it all starts by making those choices on a regular basis. Okay. Um, that's all I have to say, I guess. Other than, if you struggle with this, if you struggle with making good choices on a regular basis, if you struggle with living in alignment with your values, maybe you're not even like completely aware of what those values are and how you can approach life in a way where you're living in alignment with them. Then this is what we do at Rock Your Life. We help you do just that. Rock your life. And we do that by first being very clear about how you root yourself in your values, what those values are. What are the goals you hold for yourself? What are the bigger aspirations you have for yourself? What is the life that you want to create for yourself? What kind of life do you want to live? And how can you live that life with joy and with ease, you know? And then how do you do that? You do that through cultivating awareness and having regular accountability, you having regular guidance. And that's where I come in. That's where our tribes come in. So you're looking for a group of people that are there on this journey with you. Yeah. Because a lot of times this can feel like a very lonely thing. I'm working so hard to improve my health, to make choices on a regular basis. And how powerful is it when you have a community, a group of friends that you're regularly convening with, who are all on this journey together, who are cheering you on, who are helping each time you connect to figure out how we can all be better versions of ourselves. So check out our tribes. We have limited spots available. They're filling up. hopefully able to offer more tribes. I am launching a men's tribe, men's only health tribe in the spring, and more details to follow. But if you're interested, you can go to my website and sign up for the wait list. And that's all I have this week. I really appreciate all of you watching. If you watched live, if you watched recorded, and yeah, I'll see you back here next time. I'm here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I appreciate all of you. All right. Rock on and live well. Boom. And